Everything changed in a matter of seconds. Welcome to NFL Nexus. I'm your host, and today we're diving deep into an explainer of the absolute razor-thin margins that are going to define the 2026 Houston Texans. Now, before we descend into the agonizing, microscopic details of this roster, I need you to subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, and comment down below on what you thought. And look, if you want to go even deeper with us, support the channel by becoming a channel member. Let's dive in, because the stakes, they have literally never been higher. The honeymoon phase in Houston, it's completely dead. What was once this amazing, feel-good story of a rapid rebuild, well, it's metastasized into a suffocating championship-or-bust reality. The front office is currently agonizing over decisions that are going to define an entire generation of Texans football.
Look, to understand exactly where the Texans are going, we've got to force ourselves to look back at where they just were, the divisional round of the playoffs, that devastating, absolutely soul-crushing loss to the New England Patriots. I mean, just visualize that AFC divisional round for a second. It was a nightmare day for C.J. Stroud and the entire Houston offense. The defense, this fiercely built, terrifying unit, they held the line. They fought in the trenches. They gave the offense every single chance to win in the second half. But the offense, they completely shattered under the immense, crushing pressure of the postseason. And the Patriots didn't just beat the Texans, they created a blueprint. Think about those disguised zero blitz packages, the muddy throwing lanes, that relentless interior pressure that consistently forced Stroud right off his spot, making him rush his mechanics. New England played this physical press man on the outside and basically dared Houston to run the ball into heavy boxes. And Houston just couldn't do it. The sour taste of that defeat, it isn't just lingering, it's actively haunting the building right now. And it forces a chilling question. Has the rest of the league finally figured out the magic of C.J. Stroud? And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates the immense burden of proof that is now resting squarely on the shoulders of this young quarterback. Head coach DeMeco Ryans stood at mandatory minicamp, addressing the media with a very specific, highly calculated message. He said, the coach-player relationship is headed in the right direction. They have to work hand in hand. Those guys are doing that. But listen to what's being said between the lines here. Stroud has ideas, right? Formations he likes, and offensive coordinator Nick Caley is being forced to adapt and actually evolve this playbook. Stroud wants more pre-snap control. He wants to manipulate the Mike linebacker. He wants to adjust the protection schemes on the fly. Year one was a total revelation. Year two had its ups and downs. But now, Stroud is entering a season where potential, it's no longer enough. The collaboration between quarterback and coordinator isn't just about drawing up plays anymore. It is about absolute survival in a league that ruthlessly punishes stagnation.
Part 1. Fixing a broken backfield.
You absolutely cannot fix a broken offense without addressing its most glaring, fatal flaw: the run game. Last year, the Houston Texans' rushing attack was a total liability. It was an anchor, dragging down an otherwise incredibly potent passing attack. Joe Mixon's injury lingered way longer than anyone in the building anticipated. His body simply wasn't right, and his absence exposed a massive bleeding wound in the Texans' offensive philosophy. They lacked the size, the depth, and honestly, the sheer willpower to punish defensive fronts. And it resulted in a horrifying number, 3.9. Let the complete and total inadequacy of that sink in for a second. 3.9 yards per attempt. In the modern National Football League, if you're averaging under 4 yards a carry, you are essentially signaling to the opposing defense that you cannot dictate the terms of the game. You're playing on their schedule. You are living in second and long. You're predictably staring down 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 8, allowing opposing defensive coordinators to literally pin their ears back, dial up these exotic pressure packages, and force your young franchise quarterback to play hero ball snap after snap. 3.9 is not just about statistic. It's the mathematical formula for losing in January. The data here is just horrific. Bottom 12 in the entire league in rushing yards per game, barely scraping 108 yards. Bottom 5 in yards per attempt. And perhaps the most sickening statistic for a defensive-minded head coach like DeMeco Ryans, they tied for second to last in total rushing touchdowns with a miserable 9. 9 rushing touchdowns across an entire grueling NFL season. When you cannot run the ball in the red zone, the field shrinks. The throwing windows become microscopic. You're putting completely unfair, unbearable pressure on your passing game in these condensed spaces. Defenses just drop 7 or 8 men into coverage inside the 20-yard line because they do not fear your rushing attack at all. Create this picture in your mind. On one side of the practice field, you've got an elite, top-tier Houston defense doing absolutely everything right. On the other side, an offensive line and backfield utterly failing to generate push, failing in the red zone, and failing to protect a lead. It was a completely unsustainable paradox. Which leads us to the dramatic shift in personnel. Last year, the burden fell to Woody Marks. Now, Marks is a great player. He offers speed, quickness, and he's an excellent pass catcher out of the backfield. But he was forced into a role he was physically never built for. He isn't a bell cow.
He doesn't have the sheer mass, that dense physical armor required to break defensive tackles in the frozen fourth quarter of a playoff game. Enter the solution, the trade that altered the physical geometry of the entire offense. David Montgomery arrives from the Detroit Lions. Detroit had Jahmyr Gibbs breaking out into superstardom, which basically made Montgomery expendable. Houston capitalized. This is a massive shift in gravity, guys. Now you have a true two-headed monster. Marks brings the situational lightning, but Montgomery brings the brutal, punishing 225-pound thunder. He is built for contact, designed to completely wear down linebackers and shatter the will of a defensive line. Listen to offensive coordinator Nick Caley's raw, completely unfiltered assessment of what Montgomery brings to this team. He said he runs behind his pads, stays grounded, arm tackles aren't getting it done. He's going to try to run through you every single chance. This isn't just coach speak. This is a literal declaration of violence. The Texans are deliberately injecting a ruthless physical enforcer right into their backfield. Montgomery might have seen a slight dip in usage last year due to Gibbs, but his efficiency, it was still absolutely lethal. He is here to be the closer. He is here to ensure that 2nd and 6 actually turns into 1st and 10, to ensure that 3.9 yards per carry becomes a forgotten nightmare of the past.
Part 2, the June chopping block.
But acquiring talent like Montgomery, it always comes with a cost. The NFL is a zero-sum game. You pay a premium for power, and suddenly, you find yourself staring down the terrifying reality of the post-June 1st chopping block. We're shifting from the physical violence on the field to the cold, calculating, microscopic front office decisions that actually win championships. The June 1st deadline is passed. This unlocks a terrifying financial mechanism for NFL front offices, the ability to spread out dead cap hits. And it means players who felt safe suddenly aren't. These aren't the superstars. These aren't the guys with the massive guaranteed extensions. These are the guys fighting for their professional lives. We are talking about granular, absolute financial exactness. Jarrett Patterson, Jake Andrews, Tremont Smith. We're going to slow down and dissect every single dollar here, because a $3.6 million cap savings might be the exact amount of money needed to make a mid-season trade for a situational pass rusher, a piece that actually wins you a Super Bowl. The front office is weighing these human beings against a cold, unforgiving spreadsheet. Let's start right in the trenches. The Houston Texans currently have 16 offensive linemen in the building. Think about how suffocating that meeting room is right now. Over 17% of the entire 90-man roster is fighting for maybe 9 or 10 spots. When you have that much sheer volume at one single position, the physical toll of training camp becomes a gladiator arena. Blood is going to spill. Jarrett Patterson, a 6th-round pick from 2023, finds himself highly vulnerable. He's a versatile inside guy, but the Texans just brought in highly touted rookies Keelan Rutledge and Fibachino. Those rookies aren't going anywhere. Their cheap, multi-year contracts act as lethal weapons against a veteran. Patterson could save the team $3.6 million, and cutting him leaves less than $50,000 in dead cap. In the brutal mathematics of the NFL, it's a no-brainer. But professionally, it's a devastating cut. But then, you've got the intense paradox of Jake Andrews. This situation is fascinating and incredibly stressful for everyone involved. Jake Andrews could literally be the starting center in Week 1 against a premier defensive line, snapping the ball directly to C.J. Stroud if rookie Keelan Rutledge isn't fully prepared. He is that vital. Yet, on paper, his contract is structured so perfectly for the front office that he's an incredibly tempting casualty. Releasing him past June 1st incurs absolutely zero dead money. Zero, while simultaneously immediately handing the team over $3.6 million in cap space. He is caught in a terrifying limbo, trapped between being a vital starter and being a massive financial asset if he's simply let go. Part 3, the veteran's ultimatum. As we move from the trenches to the perimeter, the conversation changes from crowded depth charts to the most unforgiving opponent in all of professional sports, time. Welcome to the veteran's ultimatum. We are zooming in on the secondary, specifically the brutal reality facing a defensive back who is approaching the dreaded age of 30 in a league obsessed with youth and speed. Tremont Smith did absolutely everything asked of him last year. When 3rd-round pick Jalen Smith suffered a season-ending injury in Week 9, Tremont stepped up. He played in all 17 games. He registered 20 tackles. He defended passes. He bled for this franchise. But the NFL has no memory, and it certainly has no loyalty. Tremont turns 30 next month. He is entering his 9th professional season. And the guys breathing down his neck? Absolute athletic freaks. 1st-round pedigree talent like Derek Stingley. Lockdown artists like Kamari Lassiter. And now, a fully healthy, significantly younger Jalen Smith is back, ready to reclaim his role. Tremont Smith isn't just fighting his teammates on the depth chart. He is fighting the relentless march of the calendar.
And the exact figure that seals his fate? $1.7 million. If the Texans cut Tremont Smith, they save exactly $1.7 million against the cap. But they also instantly eat $1.7 million in dead money. It is the ultimate wash. And this underscores the absolute cutthroat nature of training camp. The Texans are literally asking themselves, is a 30-year-old backup cornerback worth the roster spot? Or do we take the dead money hit just to get a younger, faster 22-year-old into the building? Every single rep in August will dictate this $1.7 million gamble. And remember, in the NFL, $1.7 million isn't just a number. At the trade deadline, that exact amount can buy you the rental of a veteran edge rusher. It can literally buy you the missing piece of a championship puzzle.
Part 4. A Super Bowl mandates. Now, step away from the microscopic math of $1.7 million here or a $50,000 dead cap hit there. Look at the entire canvas. This is no longer a cute story. This is no longer a team that is happy just to win their division. Every single micro decision we just analyzed, the brutal power of David Montgomery, the tense evolving relationship building between Stroud and Callie, the merciless post-June 1 chopping block, it is all in service of one massive overarching expectation. This roster is being ruthlessly engineered for a Super Bowl right now. Will these razor-thin margins be enough? Will adding a bruiser to the backfield and saving $3 million on the offensive line be the exact formula needed to erase the nightmare in New England and capture a championship before the window slams shut? I want to know what you think. Comment down below with your predictions for the Texans this season. And remember, if you want to stay ahead of every single cut, every trade, and every scheme change, you need to subscribe to NFL Nexus, like this explainer, and seriously consider supporting the channel by becoming a channel member. The season is almost here, and the margins are only getting tighter. See you next time.